Welcome to CST LiveOnline. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. While Carpenter Square Theater is still renovating our new home, and while we're still in the throes of a pandemic, we're returning to the radio plays that we did back in 2020 that were so popular. All About Eve was a 1950 American movie written and directed by Joseph L. Mankiewicz that was based on the Mary Orr short story, The Wisdom of Eve. It was nominated for numerous Academy Awards and won Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Screenplay. The story is familiar to all theater fans. Margo Channing, played by Bette Davis, is a wildly popular Broadway star who is also concerned about her age. She has just turned 40. After a show one night, Margo meets young and eager Eve Herrington, played by Ann Baxter. Eve is enthralled with Margo and tells Margo and friends how and why she came to New York City. Margo is moved and befriends Eve, even hires Eve as her assistant. Well, that's when things get really interesting. Eve finagles her way into the lives of not just Margo and her fiancé, who was also the show's director, but also the lives of the playwright and his wife, and everyone in Margo's orbit. Eventually, everything for everyone becomes all about Eve. Our presentation features Renee Krapff as Margo Channing and Karen Garlitz as Eve Herrington. The rest of the cast includes Terry Veal, Mary Sue Backus, Mike Waugh, Craig Musser, Lana Henson, Nora Sea, and C.W. Bardsher. C.W. also doubles on live sound effects. Originally broadcast on the Lux Radio Theater on CBS, October 1st, 1951, our presentation comes to you live from the RK1 studios in downtown Oklahoma City. Here's All About Eve.
Carpenter Square Theater and Lever's Brothers Company present All About Eve. CST LiveOnline is always free, but donations for Carpenter Square Theater are greatly appreciated. You may donate easily using the donate button on the theater's homepage at carpentersquare.com. RK1 Studios is assisting CST at no charge, so tips for the studio can be made via Venmo using their handle at RKONE. That's at RKONE. And now, on with the show. Greetings from Oklahoma City, ladies and gentlemen. Many young actresses struggle to attain stardom in the theater, but none that I knew at least used the tactics of a young woman in our play tonight, All About Eve. I'm sure if we really knew all about Eve, we'd discover Lux Flakes in her household. You know Lux Flakes are a must for all discriminating women who demand gentle, safer washing care. Now, All About Eve. To those of the New York theater, no other tribute, critical acclaim, or glorification can approach the heights of recognition represented in the Sarah Siddons Award for Distinguished Achievement. A moment ago, this most cherished honor came to a young actress named Eve Herrington. Among the many eminent personalities present is the noted critic, Addison DeWitt.
Yes. This is Eve's hour. Beautiful, radiant, poised. She's about to make her speech of acceptance. The hall rings with applause and bravos. Everyone is looking at Eve. All except Karen Richards. Karen's made a little pile of crumbs on the tabletop. She's patting it with a spoon, staring at it absently. I wonder what Karen Richards is thinking about.
Eve Herrington. It seems a lifetime ago, that rainy night in October. I hurried down the alley to the stage door, but where was she? Strange, I had become so accustomed to seeing her here night after night. I found myself looking for a girl I'd never spoken to, wondering where she could possibly...
Mrs. Richards?
Oh, there you are. Well, it seemed odd suddenly, your not being here. After all, 6 nights a week watching Margo Channing enter and leave a theater.
I hope you don't mind my not speaking to you. It took every bit of courage I could raise.
To speak to a playwright's wife? I'm the lowest form of celebrity.
You're Margo Channing's best friend. You and your husband are always with her.
Tell me, what do you do in between the time Margo goes to the theater and comes out? Just huddle and wait?
Oh, no. I see the play.
See the play? You mean you've seen every performance?
Yes.
Well, apart from everything else, don't you find it expensive?
Standing room doesn't cost much. I manage.
Well, you're coming with me, young lady. I'm going to take you to Margo.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. She's got to meet you.
No, I'd be imposing on her. I'd just be another tongue-tied, gushing fan.
There isn't another like you. There couldn't be. Oh, by the way, what's your name?
Eve. Eve Herrington.
Margo was in her dressing room. Lloyd, my husband, was with her. And of course, Bertie, Margo's maid.
Morning, Karen. Margo's just been interviewed by a lady reporter from the South.
And the minute it gets printed, they're going to fire on Gettysburg all over again.
It was Fort Sumter they fired on. Where's my cold cream? Lloyd, honey, be a playwright with guts. Write me a nice, normal woman who just shoots her husband.
I find these wisecracks increasingly less funny, Margo. Aged in Wood happens to be a fine and distinguished play.
That's my loyal little woman.
Relax, kid. It's just me and my big mouth.
Well, it's just that you get me so mad sometimes. Of all the women in the world with nothing to complain about.
Ain't it the truth?
Yes, it is. You're talented, famous, wealthy. People waiting around for you night after night just to see you, even in the rain.
Autograph fiends, little beasts.
They're your fans, your audience.
They're nobody's audience. They never see a play or a movie, even. They're never indoors long enough.
Well, there's one indoors right now. I've brought her back to see you.
You've what?
She's just outside the door.
Bertie.
Yeah?
The heave-ho.
You can't put her out, Margo. She worships you. You must have spotted her by now. She's always there.
Oh, I know. The mousy one with the trench coat and the funny hat.
Yes. Come in, Eve. Margo, this is Eve Herrington.
How do you do, my dear?
Oh, brother.
Hello, Miss Channing.
My husband?
Hello, Miss Herrington.
How do you do, Mr. Richards?
And this is my dear friend and companion, Miss Bertie Coonan.
Oh, brother.
Oh, brother, what?
When she gets like this, all of a sudden she's playing Hamlet's mother.
I'm sure you must have things to do in the bathroom, Bertie dear.
If I haven't, I'll find something till you get normal.
Dear Bertie.
I was just telling Margo and Lloyd about how often you've seen the play.
Yes, every performance.
Well, then am I safe in assuming you like it?
I'd like anything Miss Channing played in.
Would you really? How sweet.
Your new play's for Miss Channing, too, isn't it?
Well, how did you hear about it?
There is an item in Addison DeWitt's column. I like the title. Footsteps on the Ceiling.
Well, let's get back to this one. Every performance, huh? Well, why?
Yes, there are other plays.
Not with you in them. Not by Mr. Richards.
Oh, but you must have friends, a home, family.
No.
Tell us about it, Eve.
If only I knew how.
Try.
Well, it started with the play before this one.
Remembrance. Did you see it in New York?
San Francisco. The most important night of my life. Until now. I found myself going the next night, and the next, and the next. And when the show went east, I went east.
Eve, why don't you start at the beginning?
It couldn't possibly interest you.
Oh, please.
Well, I guess it started back home. Wisconsin. It was just Mom and Dad and me. Farmers were poor back in those days, so I quit school and became a secretary in a brewery. It wasn't much fun, but it helped at home. And there was a little theater group there, like a drop of rain in the desert. That's where I met Eddie. We played Lilium 3 times. Oh, I was awful. When the war came, we got married. Eddie was in the Air Force, and they sent him to the South Pacific. Then a letter arrived. Eddie had a leave coming up, and I went to San Francisco to meet him. But Eddie wasn't there. Just a telegram saying Eddie wasn't coming at all. That Eddie was dead. I found a job and his insurance helped. and there were theaters in San Francisco. And then one night, Margo Channing came to play in Remembrance. And, well, here I am.
What a story. Everything but the bloodhound snapping at her rear end.
There are some human experiences, Bertie, that even a fifth-rate vaudevillian should understand and respect. I want to apologize for Bertie.
Sorry, it's just my way of talking.
You didn't hurt my feelings, Miss Coonan.
Oh, call me Bertie. Oh, hiya, Mr. Sampson.
Hi, Bertie. For your information, Margo, my plane takes off in 47 minutes, and how do I find you? Not ready yet and looking like a junkyard dog.
Thank you so much.
Bill, you should really meet.
Yeah, okay, the airlines have clocks, even if you haven't. Now, I start shooting a week from Monday.
Bill.
I'm a junkyard.
Bill, this is Eve Herrington.
Hi, my wonderful junkyard. The mystery and dreams you find in a junkyard. Oh, hello. What's your name?
Eve Herrington.
You've already met.
Huh? Where?
Right here, a minute ago. Eve, you're not going, are you?
Well, I think I'd better. It's been... Well, I can hardly find the words to say how it's been. Thank you.
No, stick around. Tell you what, we'll put Stanislavski on his plane. You and I then go somewhere and talk.
Well, if I'm not in the way.
I'll shower us. I won't be a minute.
Yes, Bill was going to Hollywood to direct a picture. I can't remember why Lloyd and I couldn't go to the airport with them, but I do remember that as we left, Eve started talking to Bill.
So you're going to Hollywood, Mr. Sampson?
Just for one picture? Why?
I just wondered.
Just wondered what?
Why you'd want to go out there. I mean, when a man's the best and most successful young director in the theater.
The theater. What book of rules says the theater exists only in New York? Listen, Junior, and learn.
Yes?
You want to know what the theater is? It's a flea circus. Also opera, rodeos, carnivals, ballets, Indian tribal dances, Punch and Judy, a one-man band. Wherever there's magic and make-believe and an audience, there's theater. From Donald Duck to Eleanor Duse, all theater. You don't understand them all and you don't like them all, and why should you? The theater's for everybody, you included, but not exclusively. So don't disapprove or approve. It may not be your theater, but it's theater for somebody, somewhere.
I just asked a simple question.
I shot my mouth off. Nothing personal, Junior. Margo! I'm leaving here in exactly 3 seconds.
Well, so am I, when I can find my coat.
It's right where you left it.
Oh.
Any messages for Tyrone Power, Bertie?
Oh, just give him my phone number. I'll tell him myself.
You got the key, Bertie?
I ain't forgot it yet.
We'll see you at home in an hour. Eve, where are you going?
Oh, you really don't want me tagging along?
Now, don't be silly. This way. It's quicker if we cut across the stage. Where is she, Bill? What happened to Eve?
She's at the desk, picking up my tickets. She said we had so little time to be together.
She's quite a girl. I'd forgotten they grew up that way anymore.
Yes, that lack of pretense, that strange sort of understanding.
Isn't it silly? Suddenly I've developed a protective feeling for her. A lamb loose in our big stone jungle. Bill, take care of yourself out there.
I understand they have everything pretty well in hand.
Don't get stuck on some glamour
Oh, I'll
post.
try.
You're a setup from some gorgeous, wide-eyed young babe.
How childish are you going to be before you quit it?
I don't want to be childish. I'd settle for just a few years.
Oh, cut that out right now.
Am I going to lose you, Bill?
As of
Am
this, as of this moment, you're 6 years old.
Everything's ready, Mr. Sampson.
Oh, thanks, Eve.
Here's your ticket. They'd like you to get right on the plane.
You've been very helpful. Good luck.
Goodbye, Mr. Sampson.
Knit me a muffler, Margo?
Kiss me, Bill. Call me when you get in.
On the hour. Hey, Junior, keep your eye on her. She's a loose lamb in the jungle.
That same night we sent for Eve's things, her few pitiful possessions. She moved into the little guest room. Eve became my sister, lawyer, mother, friend, psychiatrist, and cop. Her quiet efficiency, her constant anticipation of my wishes drove Bertie mad. I loved it. Yes, the honeymoon was on. Early one morning, the telephone rang. I was half groggy with sleep. The operator made no sense to me at all.
We are ready with your call to Beverly Hills, California.
Where? What call?
We are ready with the call you placed for 12 midnight California time to Mr. William Sampson in Beverly Hills. Go ahead, please.
Margo? What a wonderful surprise. What a thoughtful and ever-loving thing to do.
Bill, have I gone crazy, Bill?
Oh, you're my girl, aren't you?
That I am.
Then you're crazy.
When are you coming back?
In a week. Well, I'm waiting. Are you going to say it?
Oh, Bill, you know how much I do, but over a phone, now really, that's kid stuff.
Kid stuff or not, it doesn't happen every day. If you won't say it, then you can sing it.
Sing it?
Sure, just like the Western Union boys used to do.
Oh, Bill, it's your birthday.
And who remembered it? Who was there on the dot at 12 midnight?
Happy birthday, darling.
The reading could have been better, but you said it. Hey, I get a party, don't I?
Of course. Birthday and welcome home. Who will I invite?
Oh, it's no secret. I know about the party. Eve wrote me.
Eve? She did?
Oh, sure she did. She hasn't missed a week since I left. But you know all about that. You probably tell her what to write. Tell me, how is Eve, okay?
Okay.
I love you.
I'll check with Eve.
Huh?
I love you too. Good night, darling. I thought a lot about that phone call. In the morning when Bertie came in with my breakfast.
That's a silly question to ask me.
All I said was, you don't like Eve, do you?
Do you want an argument or an answer?
I'd like an answer.
No.
Why not?
Now you want an argument.
Well, she's loyal and efficient.
Like an agent with only one client.
She thinks only of me, doesn't she?
Well, she thinks only about you anyway.
How do you mean that?
Well, I'll tell you how. Let's see, like she was studying you. Like you were a play or a book or a set of blueprints. How you walk, talk, eat, sleep.
I'm sure that's very flattering, Bertie, and I'm also sure
Good morning.
Good morning, Eve.
I'm going downtown now, Miss Channing. Is there anything else you've thought of?
Well, there's that script to take back to the guild.
I've got it.
And those checks for the income tax man.
Right in this envelope.
It seems I can't think of anything you haven't thought of.
It's my job, Miss Channing.
Eve, by any chance, did you place a call for me to Bill Sampson for midnight California time?
Oh, golly, I forgot to tell you.
Yes, dear, you forgot all about it.
Well, I was sure you'd want to, of course, being his birthday, and you've been so busy.
It was very thoughtful of you, Eve.
It was Mr. Sampson's birthday. I couldn't forget that. You'd never forgive me. As a matter of fact, I sent him a telegram myself.
Did you say something, Bertie?
Who said something?
Don't.
Before we continue with All About Eve, here's our movie news of the week. And it's good news indeed. Theodore Dreiser's much-discussed novel of the 20s, An American Tragedy, has been made into a distinguished motion picture under the title A Place in the Sun. The superb cast, Montgomery Clift, Elizabeth Taylor, and Shelley Winters. A Place in the Sun definitely deserves a place on your list of films to see. That cast alone is a triple threat.
And Elizabeth Taylor, as a wealthy society girl, wears such gorgeous clothes. Edith Head, Paramount's well-known designer, created a stunning, luxable costume for Miss Taylor. It's white organdy with layers of organdy petticoats. It was luxe again and again, staying just as lovely as new.
That's right, Libby Collins, Hollywood reporter. And say, Shelley Winters' wardrobe looks extra drab by comparison.
Well, she plans to make up for it on her trip to Paris. She'll have a shopping spree collecting exquisite handmade slips, nighties, and negligés. And if I know Shelley, she took several boxes of Lux in her luggage to make sure her things get the safest possible care.
Scores of famous Hollywood screen stars say there's nothing like new Lux with color freshener. It's perfect for all kinds of lingerie, silks, rayons, nylons, and fine cotton. White stay dazzling white as new, delicate colors more brilliant than before.
It's no wonder makers of lingerie prefer Lux 31 to 1.
Why don't you get a big box of Lux tomorrow? Give your nice things that nice as new Lux look. Now, the continuation of All About Eve.
Bill's welcome home birthday party. A night that would go down in history. Like the Chicago fire or the massacre of the Huguenots. Even before it started, I could smell disaster in the air. When I went down the stairs, I was surprised to find that Bill had already arrived.
Well, looks like we're gonna have a very fancy party.
I thought you were going to be late. How long have you been here?
Just a few minutes. I ran into Eve. She seems so interested in Hollywood.
She's a girl of so many interests.
It's a pretty rare quality these days.
She's a girl of so many rare qualities.
So she seems.
So you pointed out so often. So many qualities, so often, and so young. So young and fair.
I can't believe you're making this up. It's like something out of an old Clyde Fitch play.
Clyde Fitch, though you may not think so, was well before my time.
I've always denied the legend that you were in Our American Cousin the night Lincoln was shot.
I don't think that's funny.
Oh, of course it's funny. Whipping yourself up in a jealous froth because I spent 10 minutes with a stage-struck kid.
Stage-struck kid? She's a young lady of qualities, and I'll have you know I'm fed up with both the young lady and her qualities. Studying me as if I were a play or a blueprint. How I walk, talk, act, think, eat, sleep. It so happens there are particular aspects of my life to which I would like to maintain sole and exclusive rights and privileges.
For instance, what?
For instance, you.
Darling, this is my cue to take you in my arms and reassure you. But I'm not going to. I'm too mad.
Guilty.
Mad, darling. There are certain characteristics for which you are famous on stage and off. I love you for some of them, and in spite of others. They're part of your equipment for getting along in what is laughingly called our environment. You've got to keep your teeth sharp, all right? But you will not sharpen them on me or Eve.
What about her teeth? What about her fangs?
She hasn't cut them yet, and you know it. Eve Herrington has never indicated anything to me but her adoration for you and her happiness at our being in love. And to intimate anything else spells a paranoid insecurity that you should be ashamed of.
Cut, Prinnet. What happens in the next reel? Do I get dragged off screaming to the snake pit?
Excuse me, Miss Channing.
Oh, yes, Eve?
The hors d'oeuvres are here. Is there anything else I can do?
Yes, thank you. I'd like a martini, very dry and very double.
Hello, everyone. We let ourselves in like common thieves.
You and Karen can come in and take whatever you want. Except the gin, of course.
Hi, Lloyd. Karen?
May I have your coat?
Don't bother. I can put it away myself.
Please.
Thank you, Eve.
I like that girl. That quality, quiet graciousness.
Among so many quiet qualities.
Margo, nothing you've ever done has made me as happy as you're taking Eve in.
I'm so happy you're happy.
The general atmosphere is very Macbethish. What has or is about to happen?
What is he talking about?
Macbeth.
We know you. We've seen you before like this. Is it over or just beginning?
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
And it was. As the night plowed on, Margo managed to carve up Bill's cake, several producers, the piano player, and an innocent fern that just happened to be in her line of unfriendly fire. Finally, I had had enough and told Lloyd it was time to go, and he told Margo.
Well, I've been looking for you, Margo. Karen and I have to run along. It's been a swell party.
Where's Karen, Lloyd? Upstairs?
Oh, yes, getting her coat, I think.
How's a new play coming along?
Footsteps on the ceiling. It's all right, I guess.
And the girl character, Cora. She's still 20.
20-ish. It's not important.
Do you think it's about time it became important?
Margo, you haven't got any age.
Margo Channing is ageless. Spoken like a press agent, Lloyd. I'm not 20-ish. I'm not 30-ish. 3 months ago, I was 40 years old. 40. 4-0. That slipped out. I hadn't quite made up my mind to admit it.
You've had another fight with Bill.
Bill's 32. He looks 32. He looked at 5 years ago, and he'll look at 20 years from now. I hate men. Don't worry, Lloyd. I'll play your play. I'll wear rompers and come in rolling a hoop if you like. Now get out of here and go find your wife.
So nice of you to come upstairs with me, Eve.
I just wanted to be sure you'd find your coat, Mrs. Richards.
Tell me, Eve, how are things going? Are you happy?
There should be a new word for happiness. Being here with Miss Channing, she's been so wonderful. Done so much for me.
You've done your share too, Eve. So, good night.
Mrs. Richards.
Karen.
Karen, isn't it awful? I'm about to ask you for another favor, after all you've done already.
Oh, that's nonsense.
It's just that, well, Mrs. Channing's affairs are in such good shape, and now her understudy is going to have a baby, and they'd have to replace her.
You want to be Margo's new understudy?
I don't let myself think about it even, but I do know the part so well, and every bit of the staging. But suppose I had to go on one night, to an audience that came to see Margo Channing. No, I possibly couldn't.
Well, I wouldn't worry about that. Margo just doesn't miss performances. If she can walk, crawl, or roll, she plays.
The role must go on.
No, dear. Margo must go on. As a matter of fact, see no reason why you shouldn't be her understudy.
Do you think Miss Channing would approve?
I think she'd cheer.
But Mr. Richards and Mr. Sampson.
Stop worrying. They'll do as they're told.
I seem to be forever thanking you for something, don't I? Good night, Karen.
Good night, dear. So Eve became Margo's understudy. Naturally, I assumed that Margo approved. One afternoon, Margo went to the theater. Someone else was leaving the cast, and Margo consented to help with an audition. A friend of Addison DeWitt's, a Miss Caswell, was trying out for the part.
Margo, how nice to see you.
Why aren't you in the theater, Addison, at the side of your protege, lending her moral support?
Oh, but I did. The audition, however, is over.
Over? Well, it can't be. I've come here to read with Miss Caswell.
Well, the audition was called for 2:30. It is now nearly 4.
Is it really? Well, who read with Miss Caswell? Bill, Lloyd? Who then?
Naturally enough, your understudy.
I consider it highly unnatural to allow a girl in an advanced state of pregnancy
I refer to your new and unpregnant understudy, Miss Eve Herrington.
Eve? My understudy?
Well, didn't you know?
Of course I knew that.
It just slipped your mind.
How was Miss Caswell?
Frankly, I don't remember.
It just slipped your mind.
Completely. Nor could anyone else tell you how Miss Caswell read, or whether Miss Caswell read or wrote a pogo stick.
Was she that bad?
Margo lives in his faith. And once in a great while, I experience that moment of revelation for which all true believers wait and pray. You were one. Eve Herrington is another.
I take it she read well.
It wasn't a reading. It was something made of fire and music. Brilliant, vivid, unforgettable.
How nice.
In time, she'll be what you are.
A mass of fire and music. That's me, an old kazoo, and some sparklers. Tell me, was Bill swept away too, or were you too full of revelation to notice?
Bill didn't say, but Lloyd was beside himself. He listened to his play as if someone else had written it. He said it sounded so fresh, so new, so full of meaning.
How nice for Lloyd, and how nice for Eve. How nice for everybody.
Eve was incredibly modest. She insisted that Lloyd felt as he did only because she read the lines exactly as he had written them.
The implication being that I have not been reading them as written.
To the best of my recollection, neither your name nor your performance entered the conversation. May I give you a lift somewhere?
No. No, thank you, Addison. I'll just run on in so they'll know I did come after all. I must start wearing a watch.
Margo, how are you, darling?
Terribly sorry I'm late, Max. Lunch went long and I couldn't find a cab. Well, shall we start? Where's Miss Caswell? Hello, Bill. Hello, Lloyd. Hello, Eve.
Miss Channing.
It's all over, Margo.
What's all over?
The audition. Eve read with Miss Caswell.
Eve? How enchanting. Wherever did you get the idea of letting Eve read?
Well, she's your understudy.
Eve? My understudy? I had no idea.
Well, I thought you knew. She was put on over a week ago.
Miss Channing, I can't tell you how glad I am that you arrived so late.
Really, Eve, why?
If you'd been here to begin with, I never would have dared to read at all. I couldn't have.
What a pity. All that fire and music going to waste.
What fire and music?
You wouldn't understand.
I was dreadful, Miss Channing. Believe me.
Oh, I'm sure you underestimate yourself, Eve. You always do.
You'd have been proud of her, Margo. Eve was a revelation.
To you too, Lloyd.
And what do you mean by that?
I mean that among other things, it must have been a revelation to have your 24-year-old character played by a 24-year-old actress. Also, it must have sounded so new and fresh to you. So exciting to have your lines read just as you wrote them.
Addison. You've been talking to Addison.
So full of meaning, fire, and music.
You've been talking to that fishwife, Addison DeWitt.
In this case, apparently as trustworthy as the World Almanac.
You knew when you came in that the audition was over, that Eve was your understudy, playing that childish little game of cat and mouse.
No mouse, never mouse. If anything, rat.
This genius of yours for making a barroom brawl out of a perfectly innocent misunderstanding. At most.
Perfect innocent. Men have been hanged for less. I'm lied to, attacked behind my back, accused of reading your silly dialogue inaccurately, as if it were the holy gospel.
I never said it was.
When you listened as if someone else had written your play, whom did you have in mind? Arthur Miller? Sherwood? Beaumont and Fletcher?
What makes you think either Miller or Sherwood would stand for the nonsense I take from you? You'd better stick to Beaumont and Fletcher. They've been dead for 300 years.
All playwrights should be dead for 300 years.
Well, that would solve none of their problems, because actresses never die. The stars never die and never change.
You can change this star anytime you want. For a new, fresh, exciting one fully equipped with fire and music. Anytime you want. Starting with tonight's performance.
I shall never understand the weird process by which a body and voice suddenly fancies itself a mind. Just when exactly does an actress decide that they're her words she's saying and her thoughts she's expressing?
Usually at the point when she has to rewrite and rethink them to keep the audience from leaving the theater.
It's about time the piano realized that it has not written the concerto.
And you, Bill? You, I take it, are the Paderewski who plays his concerto on me, the piano. Where is Princess Fire and Music?
Who?
The kid, Junior.
Gone.
I must have frightened her away.
I wouldn't be surprised. Sometimes you frighten me.
I'm nothing but a body and a voice, no mind.
What a body. What a voice. Now, calm down. The gong rang. The fight's over.
I will not calm down.
Well, don't calm down.
And I will not be plotted against.
Oh, here we go.
Such nonsense. What do you all take me for? Little Nell from the country? Been my understudy for over a week without my knowing. Shows up for an audition when everyone knew I'd be here. And gives a performance. Out of nowhere gives a performance.
You've been all through that with Lloyd.
Full of fire and music and whatnot. Carefully rehearsed, I have no doubt. Full of those Bill Sampson touches.
I am sick and tired of these paranoid outbursts. I didn't even know Eve Herrington was your understudy until 2:30 this afternoon.
Well, tell that to Dr. Freud along with the rest of it.
No, I'll tell it to you. For the last time, I'll tell it to you. I love you. You're a beautiful and intelligent woman.
A body with a voice.
And a great actress. You have every reason for happiness.
Except happiness.
Every reason. But due to some strange, uncontrollable, unconscious drive, you permit the slightest action of a kid. Kid! Like Eve to turn you into a hysterical, screaming harpy. Now, once and for all, stop it.
It's obvious you're not a woman.
I've been aware of that some time.
Well, I am.
I'll say. Now, come on, Margo. Let's get out of here. I'll buy you a drink.
I'll admit I may have seen better days, but I am still not to be had for the price of a cocktail, like a salted peanut.
Margo, let's make peace.
Terms are too high. Unconditional surrender.
Just being happy? Just stopping all this nonsense about Eve and me?
It's not nonsense. Oh, I wish it were.
I told you before this was going to be my last try, and I meant it. I can't think of anything else to do. I wish I could. Goodbye, Margo.
Bill, where are you going? To find Eve.
That suddenly makes the whole thing believable.
Bill. Oh, Bill.
Frankly, Lloyd, I don't understand a word you're saying.
Well, not only was Margo 2 hours late, but that childish, heavy-handed routine about knowing that Eve was her understudy.
It's just possible she didn't know.
Oh, of course she knew. Addison told her. Now somebody's got to stop Margo. Who's going to do it? Who's going to give her that boot in the rear that she needs and deserves?
It's going to be a very cozy weekend.
What is?
We're driving out to the country tomorrow night. Margo, you and I.
Well, we've spent weekends before with nobody talking. Just be sure to lock up all the blunt instruments and throwable objects.
Lloyd was right, of course, about Margo. That boot coming to her? Heaven knows she had one coming. But how? How to do it? And then it came to me. My big idea. After all, it was no more than a perfectly harmless joke, which Margo herself would be the first to enjoy. No reason why she shouldn't be told about it. In time. My big idea required a telephone call. Hello? Will you call Miss Eve Herrington to the phone, please?
Don't touch that dial. We'll take a brief intermission. There's just enough time to refill your beverage, use the facilities, or make a donation to Carpenter Square Theater. Look for the donate button on the theater's homepage at carpentersquare.com. Tips for RK1 Studios can be used using their Venmo handle at RKONE. See you in 5 minutes on the radio. curtain rises on the finale of All About Eve.
It was a cold weekend we spent in the country. Somehow we staggered through it. Late Monday afternoon, my big idea went into action. Its purpose was to make Margo miss her performance so that Eve would have to take her place. All I did was drain the gas tank of her car. My timing was perfect. Margo missed her train, and we sat there on the highway, the two of us, while Lloyd, cursing softly, went down the road in search of gasoline.
Cigarette, Karen.
Oh, no thanks, dear.
I haven't been very pleasant this weekend.
Well, we've all seemed a little tense lately.
More than any two people I know, I don't want you and Lloyd to be angry with me.
How could we? You're Margo, just Margo.
And what is that? Besides something spelled out in light bulbs, I mean. Besides something called a temperament, which consists mostly of swooping about on a broomstick, screaming at the top of my voice. Infants behave the way I do, you know, when they feel unwanted or insecure or unloved.
What about Bill? He's in love with you.
More than anything in this world, I love Bill. I want him to love me, but me, not Margo Channing. And if I can't tell them apart, how can he? And Karen, about Eve. I've acted pretty disgracefully toward her, too.
Well,
at best, let's say I've been oversensitive to the fact that she's so young, so feminine and helpless, to so many things I want to be for Bill.
Margo, I want you to know how sorry I am about this.
About what?
Getting stuck like this. I can't tell you how sorry I am.
Don't give it another thought. One of Destiny's merry pranks. After all, you didn't personally drain the gasoline out of the tank. I said you didn't personally drain the gasoline out of the tank.
Oh.
This is Addison DeWitt. It is now my turn to tell you all about Eve. That night, with Margo marooned in the country, Eve Herrington took her place on the stage. Her performance was magnificent. But one thing puzzled me. Why was I invited to that particular performance? A performance about which the management knew nothing until they were forced to ring up the curtain at 9 o'clock, when Margo failed to appear. Coincidence? Also, every indication of intrigue, skullduggery, and fraud. Afterwards, I went backstage. Her dressing room was closed, but I overheard a rather interesting conversation between Eve and Bill Sampson.
You can be very proud of yourself, Eve. That was a wonderful job you did tonight. I'll admit, I had my doubts.
You shouldn't have had any doubts.
Oh, you're right. With work and patience, you'll be a good actress, if that's what you want to be.
Is that what you want me to be?
I'm talking about you and what you want.
So am I.
What have I got to do with it?
Everything.
The names I've been called, but never Svengali. Good night.
Don't run away, Bill.
From what would I be running?
You're always after the truth, on the stage. What about off?
I'm for it.
Then face it. I have. Ever since that night, here in this dressing room.
When I told you what every young actress should know?
When you told me that whatever I became, it would be because of you.
Your makeup's a little heavy.
And for you.
You're quite a girl.
You think?
I'm in love with Margo. Hadn't you heard?
You hear all kinds of things.
I'm only human. Rumors to the contrary. And I'm as curious as the next man.
Find out.
Only thing. What I go after, I want to go after. I don't want it to come after me. Don't cry. Just score it as an incomplete forward pass.
I waited a reasonable amount of time for her tears to dry, And then I too had a chat with Eve. I wanted to write a column about her, and there were so many questions to ask.
So kind of you to stop by, Mr. DeWitt. I'm so glad you liked me tonight, but it's still Miss Channing's performance. I'm just a carbon copy you read when you can't find the original.
I think the time has come to shed some of your modesty. It is just as false to not blow your horn at all as it is to blow it too loudly.
One pretty good performance by an understudy. It'll be forgotten tomorrow.
It needn't be.
Why not? I'm less than nobody.
I am somebody.
You certainly are.
After you change, we can have supper.
I'd love to. Or should I pretend I'm busy?
Let's have a minimum of pretending. I shall want to do a column about you.
I'm not enough for a paragraph.
Perhaps more than one. There's so much I want to know. I've heard your story in bits and pieces, your home in Wisconsin, your tragic marriage, your fanatical attachment to Margo. It started in San Francisco, didn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Which theater was it in San Francisco? Was it the Schubert?
Yes, the Schubert.
Ah, fine old theater, the Schubert. Full of tradition, untouched by the earthquake. Fire. By the way, what was your husband's name?
Eddie.
Eddie what?
Really, Mr. DeWitt, if I'm ever going to change, it'll only be a moment.
Where would you like to go, Eve? We must make this a special night.
You take charge.
I believe I will.
Stop saying you can't believe it, Karen. It's right here in print, isn't it? By Addison DeWitt. Listen to this. Miss Herrington had much to tell about the lamentable practices in our theater of permitting mature actresses to continue playing roles, requiring a youth and vigor of which they retain but a dim memory.
I still can't believe that Eve
It
would...
gets better. About the understandable reluctance on the part of our entrenched first ladies of the stage to encourage younger actresses, about Miss Herrington's own long, unsupported struggle for opportunity.
Eve couldn't have said anything like that.
What gets me is how all of those papers happened to catch that particular performance.
Lloyd says it's just a publicity release.
The little witch must have had Olympic runners out snatching critics from wherever they hole up. Well, she won't get away with it. Nor will Addison DeWitt and his poison pen. I will personally...
I came as soon as I read that piece of filth. I ran all the way.
Bill, oh, thank heavens you're here.
Oh, Bill.
Oh, Bill's here, baby. Everything's gonna be all right now.
Oh, darling.
I guess at this point I'm what the French would call de trop.
Huh, maybe just a little around the edges.
That night, Eve and I were having supper in the cub room at the Stork Club, when in walked Margo, Bill, Lloyd, and Karen. They seemed unusually happy and gay.
Simply this. Margo and I are getting married.
Glory, hallelujah.
Margo, when? When are you going to do it?
We meet at City Hall tomorrow morning at 10.
City Hall? That's for prize fighters and reporters.
Oh, it's only for the license. There's a 3-day wait for blood tests.
I'll marry you if it turns out you have no blood at all.
What are you going to wear?
Something simple. A fur coat over a nightgown.
The point is, we want you two beside us as our nearest and dearest friends.
Excuse me, Mrs. Richards.
Yes, waiter?
This note is for you. Miss Herrington said it.
Miss Herrington? Here, Margo, read it.
Please forgive me for butting in, but it's most important that I speak with you. Please. It's underlined. Meet me in the ladies' room. Eve.
Huh. I understand she's now the understudy in there.
Maybe Eve just wants to apologize.
What could she say?
Well, go on. Find out.
Karen, in all the years of our friendship, I have never let you go to the ladies' room alone. But now I must. I am busting to know what goes on in that feverish little brain waiting in there.
Well, all right.
I was wondering whether you'd come at all. Thank you. I wanted to talk to you about Mr. DeWitt's column.
Do you expect me to believe that you didn't say any of those things? That they were all Addison?
All I know is I found myself trying to answer his questions, trying to say what I mean, but somehow the words change. They become his words, and suddenly I wasn't saying what I mean, but what he means. I just wanted you to know the responsibility is mine, and the disgrace.
Let's not get over dramatic.
You really have a low opinion of me, don't you? You'll be glad to know I've been told off, in no uncertain terms, all over town.
Eve, don't cry. After all, you still have a powerful friend in Addison DeWitt.
He's not my friend. You were my friends. I'll never get over it. Never.
Yes, you will. You're very young and very talented. And believe it or not, if there's anything I can do...
Yes, there is something.
I think I know.
Something most important you can do.
You want to play the lead in Lloyd's new play. You want me to tell Lloyd I think you should play it.
If you told him so, he'd give me the part. He said he would.
After all you've said? Don't you know that part was written for Margo?
It could have been 15 years ago. It's my part now. You've got to tell Lloyd it's for me.
I don't think anything in the world could make me say that.
Addison wants me to play it.
Over my dead body?
That won't be necessary. Addison knows how Margo happened to miss that performance, how I happened to know she'd miss it in time to call him and notify every paper in town. You'd better sit down. You look a bit wobbly. If I play Cora, Addison will never tell what happened, in or out of print. A simple exchange of favors, and I'm so happy I could do something for you at long last. Your friendship with Margo, your deep, close friendship. What would happen to it, do you think, if she knew the cheap trick you'd played on her for my benefit? It would be so much easier on everyone concerned if I were to play Cora, and so much better theater, too.
A part in a play. You do all that just for a part in a play.
I do much more for a part that good. Excuse me, Karen. Addison's waiting for me.
Only coffee, Eve. I'm not surprised after all that humble pie.
Nothing of the kind. Karen and I had a nice talk.
Including a casual reference to the part of Cora and your hopes of playing it?
I discussed it very openly.
She mentioned, of course, that Margo expects to play the part.
Oddly enough, she didn't say a word about Margo.
You know, Eve, sometimes I think you keep things from me.
I don't think that's funny.
It wasn't meant to be.
I confide in you and rely on you more than anyone I've ever known. To say a thing like that now, without any reason, when I need you more than ever.
I hope you mean what you say, Eve. I intend to hold you to it. We have a great deal in common, Eve.
Well, what happened?
Nothing much. She apologized.
With tears?
With tears.
Very classy stuff. Lots of technique. Groom. May I have a wedding present?
What would you like? Texas?
I want everybody to shut up about Eve. Just shut up about Eve. That's all I want. Never have I been so happy. Do you know why I'm so happy? Because I forgive Eve. I forgive Eve because she left good behind. The four of us here together. It's Eve's fault. I forgive her. And Bill, especially Bill. Eve did that too.
You know she probably means well, after all.
She's a louse.
Never try to outguess Margo.
Correct. And Lloyd, I don't want to play Cora.
What?
Now wait a minute, Karen. You're always so touchy about his plays. It isn't the part. It's a great part. But not for me anymore. Not a four-square, upright, downright, forthright married lady.
Well, what's your being married got to do with it?
It means I finally got a life to live. I don't have to play parts I'm too old for just because I've got nothing to do with my nights. I'll make it up to you, believe me. I'll tour a year with this one. Anything. Only you do understand, don't you, Lloyd?
What's so funny?
Nothing.
Nothing. Huh?
Everything. Everything's so funny.
In due time, they were wed, Margo and Bill. Also in due time, rehearsal started for the new play starring Eve Herrington. Finally, the play was ready for its out-of-town opening in New Haven. That afternoon, I saw Eve at her hotel.
Isn't it strange, Addison? I thought I'd be panic-stricken. Instead, I can't wait for tonight to come and go.
Are you that sure of tomorrow?
Aren't you?
Frankly, yes.
It'll bring to me everything I've ever wanted. The end of an old road and the beginning of a new one.
All paved with diamonds and gold.
You know me better than that.
Paved with what, then?
Stars. What time is it?
Almost 4.
Plenty of time for a nice long nap?
You could sleep too, couldn't you?
Why not?
The mark of a true killer. Sleep tight, rest easy, and come out fighting.
Why'd you call me a killer?
Oh, did I say killer? I meant champion. I get my boxing terms mixed.
Listen, Addison, there'll be a party here tonight. You'll come, won't you? We're having everyone up after the performance.
Where?
Lloyd and I.
I find it odd that Karen isn't here for the opening, don't you? She's always been so fanatically devoted to Lloyd.
Addison, just a few minutes ago I said this would be a night to remember. I didn't mean just the theater.
What else?
Lloyd Richards. He's going to leave Karen. We're going to be married.
So that's it. Lloyd. Still just the theater, after all.
It's nothing of the kind. Lloyd loves me, and I love him.
I know nothing about Lloyd and his loves. I leave those to Louisa May Alcott. But I do know you.
I'm in love with Lloyd. Addison, won't it just be perfect? Lloyd and I. There's no telling how far we can go. He'll write great plays for me. I'll make them great. You're the only one I've only told, the only one who knows except Lloyd and me.
And Karen?
She doesn't know.
She knows enough not to be here.
But not all of it. Not that Lloyd and I are going to be married. Well, say something. Anything. Congratulations. Cheers. Good work, Eve.
What do you take me for? Is it possible, even conceivable, that you've confused me for that gang of backward children you've been playing tricks on, that you have the same contempt for me that you have for them?
I'm sure you mean something by that, Addison, but I don't know what.
Look closely, Eve. It's time that you did. I am Addison DeWitt. I am nobody's fool, least of all yours.
I never intended you to be.
Yes, you did. You still do.
I still don't know what you're getting at.
You know it as well as I do. That while Lloyd may leave Karen, he will not leave Karen for you.
What do you mean by that?
More plainly, more distinctly, you will not marry Lloyd Richards, or anyone else for that matter, because I will not permit it.
Will not permit it? That sounds medieval. Something out of an old melodrama.
So does the history of the world for the past 20 years. Frankly, I'd hoped that you would somehow have known, have taken it for granted that you and I...
You and I...
Remember, as long as you live, never to laugh at me, at anything or anyone else, but never at me. To begin with, your name is not Eve Herrington. It's Gertrude Slachinsky.
Get out.
It's true you worked in a brewery, but life in the brewery was apparently not as dull as you had pictured it. As a matter of fact, it got less and less dull until your boss's wife had you followed by detectives.
She never proved anything. Not a thing.
But the $500 you got to get out of town brought you straight to New York, didn't it?
She was a liar. A liar.
There was no Eddie. No pilot. And you've never been married. San Francisco has no Schubert Theater. You've never been to San Francisco. That was a stupid lie. Easy to expose. Not worthy of you.
I had to get in to meet Margo. I had to say something, be somebody, make her like me.
She did like you. She helped and trusted you. You paid her back by trying to take Bill away.
That's not true.
After you failed, you used my name and my column to blackmail Karen into getting the part of Cora, and you lied to me about it.
No.
I had lunch with Karen not 3 hours ago. She told me more than she had learned. That I should want you at all suddenly strikes me as the height of improbability. But that, in itself, is probably the reason. You're an improbable person, Eve, and so am I. We have that in common. Also, a contempt for humanity, an inability to love and to be loved, insatiable ambition and talent. We deserve each other. Are you listening to me?
Yes, Addison.
And you realize, you agree, how completely you belong to me.
Yes, Addison.
Take your nap now, and good luck for tonight.
I won't go on tonight. I couldn't. Not possibly. I couldn't go on.
Couldn't go on? You'll give the performance of your life. And she gave the performance of her life. It was a night to remember, that night. And that is why she's on the dais of the Sarah Siddons Awards this evening.
Honored members of the Sarah Siddons Society, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, what is there for me to say? Everything wise and witty has long since been said by minds more mature and talents far greater than mine. For me to thank you as equals would be presumptuous. I am an apprentice in the theater and have much to learn from all of you. I can say only that I am proud and happy, and that I regard this great honor not so much as an award for what I have achieved, but as a standard to hold against what I have yet to accomplish. In good conscience, I must give credit where credit is due. To my first friend in the theater, whose kindness I shall never forget, Karen, Mrs. Lloyd Richards. It was Karen who first brought me to the one whom I had always idolized, and who was to become my benefactor and champion, Margo Channing. My director, who demanded always a little more than my talent could provide, but who taught me patiently and well, Bill Sampson. And one whose great play and faith in me this night would never have been, Lloyd Richards. How can I repay the many others, so many, who've made this the happiest night of my life? Although I'm going to Hollywood next week to make a film, do not think for a moment that I am leaving you. How could I? For my heart is here in the theater, and 3,000 miles are too far to be away from one's heart. I'll be back to claim it, and soon. That is, if you want me back.
Congratulations, Eve.
Thank you, Karen.
Nice speech, Eve. But I wouldn't worry too much about your heart. You can always put that award where it ought to be.
Mr. DeWitt!
Miss Caswell, how nice to see you again.
Isn't she wonderful, Mr. DeWitt?
There's no one like Eve, Miss Caswell. No one in the world. Tell me, Miss Caswell, do you want someday to have an award like that of your own?
More than anything in the whole world.
Then you must ask Eve Herrington how to get one. Miss Herrington knows all about it.
And here they are, an outstanding cast to take a bow for outstanding performances. Watch for news about the all-new CST LiveOnline broadcast on April 1st and 2nd. In closing, if your budget allows, donations to Carpenter Square Theater can be made using the donate button on the homepage at carpentersquare.com, and donations for RK1 Studios can be made via Venmo. Use their handle at RKONE. We hope you'll join us in the future for more old-time radio shows. And here's tonight's company of players to take a bow. Renee Krapff, Karen Garlitz, Mary Sue Backus, Terry Veal, Mike Waugh, Craig Musser, Lana Henson, Nora Sea, and yours truly, C.W. Bardsher. And thanks again to Randy and Matt Kemp, Rick Allen Lippert, and Fred O. Bishop for their technical expertise. Good night.